If you need to create something such as systematic sampling points, you would have to follow a couple of steps. One of the easiest ways to do this is to first create a grid, like a fishnet that you see on the screen. You then create a point from those values. I, for instance, want to create a systematic sampling point pattern. So in the center of each of these cells, I would like to have a sample point, and that sample point will then be used for interpolation later on, or anything like that. You simply search for fishnets, create fishnets in data management, which will create a systematic grid across your sample space. You give the feature class a name, and then you can input these values as you require the fishnet to be created. You can also create a fishnet based on an extent that you already have. For example, the template extent. I'm going to create a fishnet to the extent of the raster that you see here. So I'm going to select that raster, and all the information is going to be populated for me. In this instance, I want 100 systematic sampling points to be used for later analysis. How do I do that? Well, if I have a raster and I want to create a grid for that, it would be 10 rows and 10 columns. So I simply add those in because it will be 1 point per pixel. So 10 rows versus 10 columns, it gives me all the additional information it calculates itself. The geometry type is going to be a polygon or a polyline. If you create a polygon, then it's much easier to create the subsequent analysis methods to create your systematic points. But you can also do the polyline. I'm going to create a polygon here. I'm calling this systematic fishnet, and I'm going to run it. So this will create a systematic grid that has the same extent as my DEM that's in the background, my reference data set, and then I have these labels which will become my systematic points for sampling later on. If you have a look at these, at this point, there is no information attached to them yet. So if you were to then go into the field, because you have to navigate to them and collect your data there, you would have to first add your XY coordinates to this, which would be a separate tool. You can see the tool here. It adds X and Y values to your data set. So you load those into your GPS, and you will then use those to navigate to those places when you're out in the field.